Hi, I'm Blair Gilbert of Gilbert's Pro Hardware in St. Clair Shores and here for MrHardware.com to do a brief dissertation on faucet repair and common faucet parts. And calcium and water has leaked onto the faucet and it's gotten into all the moving parts and all the nuts and stuff that you have to remove in order to work on the faucet. When this gets old, that gets to be a bugger to get apart. It gets to be a bugger to undo the nuts and the cam nuts that hold faucets together. So when you go to work on them, the minute the faucet starts winning the battle of you getting it apart, take some good old-fashioned vinegar and a rag. And you wrap a rag around the part that you're working on, and you pour vinegar on the rag, and you let it sit there for about a half hour. I've left it overnight even. The vinegar will take and soak in, good old acetic acid will soak in and soften up all that lime and calcium that has the faucet all glued together. This here happens to be one of the newer Moens. Moen typically has a cartridge. They all have cartridges, but they typically had a long cartridge. This particular Moen's interesting. This is new stuff. That it's got a new style cartridge. Pulls out, and that does everything. That little cam there will give us hot and cold water, and lots of it and little of it. It's got some holes in the bottom. It's got a gasket down here, which means nothing to us when this faucet gets old and leaks, because the internal parts are ceramic discs or plates that are moving around that are controlling the water to be on and off. You have to go get a new cartridge. The good thing with Moen, Delta faucet, most faucet manufacturers, you take and you write them in either on email or 1-800-DELTA-FAUCET, 1-800-MOEN. You have to do a little Googling to find them. Once you find the source of parts, they will typically have a lifetime guarantee. This cartridge, if you've got time, Moen will send one to you. Pretty cool stuff. Now, this happens to be a pull-out faucet. What I want to mention real quickly in pull-out faucets, whenever there's water happening down in the cabinet below and you're not sure why, first thing you do is pull the pull-out faucet out, set it in the sink, turn the water on, and see if any water is leaking here at the hose. This happens to be the spot that gets the most abuse as the faucet is being used. These hoses are not repairable. You have to get another hose. Well, we're back to 1-800-MOEN. They'll send you a new hose if you ever have one that's leaking. So that's a common problem with a pull-out faucet. The Delta faucet, one of our best friends, been around a long time. This faucet, of course, in the old days, they used a ball and 2 cup washers that are spring-loaded. For some reason, they were able to call those cup washers not washers. You can see them down there in the hall. Those 2 washers push against this stainless steel ball. When the holes line up, water comes out the faucet. When it hits the smooth, no water comes out the faucet. So when you look at these balls, and they're old, if they're stainless, you can normally take a Scotch pad, buff them up, get a new set of Delta springs and washers. Mind you, try to buy original Deltas. We're finding that the Chinese knockoff of these parts are pretty poorly made. They're not lasting. And the Delta goes back together easily. This is a hard faucet to get apart often because of the crown nut. This nut here, water's coming around here. This nut is glued on. Very hard to get off sometimes. I've also taken a torch and lightly heated this, trying not to melt this pressure ring. And I've heated this up, let it cool, then taken a rubber grippy and gotten this crown nut off without scratching or damaging it with a pair of channel locks. The other thing with the Delta, and a lot of faucets that don't have pull-out spouts, you'll find water building up on the deck of the faucet or leaking underneath, but it's not a pull-out faucet. How'd the water get down there? Well, just about every faucet has got O-rings that make the spout watertight to the body. Now, so it's easy to get new O-rings, solve the problem, no big issue. Now, these faucets last so long, I quite often see these faucets that are 25 years old, and what has happened is, the brass in here is actually worn out. This faucet has been used by the people of this household back and forth for so many years that there's some metal missing. And we're always in the hopes that maybe a next size larger O-ring will solve the leakage problem. The problem is, the next size larger O-ring, too big. It won't go on there. When the brass is fatigued and worn out, the faucet's worn out. So quite often after 25 or 30 years, we'll bail on repairing putting a full kit in a Delta faucet if it's leaking on the deck, because we're not going to win the battle. Going back to the Moens real quick. The old style Moens use cartridges. This is a shower cartridge. This is a Scald Guard shower cartridge. It's a little bigger bodied. It's got a pressure balancing spool in there that if someone flushes a toilet, that spool does its best to limit the water differential so that you don't get scalded while you're in the shower. That's a shower. This other cartridge is one that's typically in the sinks and bathroom sinks and kitchen sinks and showers. And one important thing, when you go to work on a Moen, it's pretty easy to disassemble them. At the top, you can maybe barely see that there's an ear there, and there's a horseshoe clip that retains that ear in. Well, you disassemble the faucet, so you get to the ear. That can be easy or hard. But you get that, you get the horseshoe clip off, you make sure the water is off when you get that horseshoe clip off, and you go to pull the cartridge out. But it's been in that hole for so long that the calcium has got it glued in. So Moen, fortunately, gives you this white plastic tool that you drop onto the top of the cartridge and you rotate it. So after you got the horseshoe clip off, you put that on and rotate it, and helps break the cartridge free from the faucet so you can pull the faucet out of that hole. That's a very common Moen part there. Delta, the new Delta faucets now are kind of like that original Moen that I showed you, and they're using a cartridge. Delta is getting away from the ball with the two cup washers. These Diamond Stone technology cartridges are very nice. We kind of miss the old ball and the two cup washers because they were so easy to repair. Now another faucet is, this one here happens to be a foreign faucet. It is a Delta clone. So it's built like a two-handled Delta. And what it has hot and cold, two stems. It's got these cartridges. And this cartridge looks an awful lot like a Delta, but it's not exact. And what it has is a stainless steel plate with holes in it. It's got a cup washer inside, just same cup washer, by the way, as the one that went into that single-handle Delta faucet. And when the cup washer is against a flat steel plate, the water is off. When we rotate the stem, then water comes through the holes, the water's on. This is a funny faucet to work on because this cartridge has a stop built into the cartridge. So when the handle is on, the handle will rotate and it will hit. It will rotate fine, but it hits at that stop. Well, when you put this cartridge back in, you can put it in with the stop to the right, or you can install it with the stop to the left. Now if you change what side the stop is on when you repair this faucet, you will reverse the rotation of the shutoff. So right now everyone that's used this faucet is used to turning it off to the right. You rotated that cam, now it turns off to the left. Whoops. You got to turn the water off, loosen it up, pop the cam out, rotate it, all is good. Another faucet that I see an awful lot, you take kind of old style, they make it with a single-handled Delta clone type operation also. This Dishmaster faucet has got a brush with a soap dispenser built into it. Now this faucet is definitely a love-hate faucet. The women that like it love it. Men hate it. They hate it because the parts are hard to get and it can be hard to work on. This faucet was made to be disassembled. This faucet is very popular in this. We're in the Detroit area here. This faucet was very popular in this area. They designed it with all thumb screw parts to take apart, which is real cool. I take it apart. Now I'm looking at just the raw body. I've got the water inlet to the body. Once it gets turned on, the water comes to the center, goes to the spout. When this faucet leaks, it's got a little retaining nut that holds in its stem. Now this is what we call a compression faucet. because this faucet compresses a rubber washer or neoprene washer against a seat built into the faucet. Now if you can see that seat in there, the center of that seat has got live water, when the faucet's turned on of course, coming to it. When you turn it off, this neoprene washer shuts off the water. Well, when this faucet goes bad, as you can see, it's a little bit difficult changing this neoprene washer. It's built into the stem. So you have to take and buy 2 new seats from Dishmaster. They're the only ones that use this system. And you can rebuild the faucet. Well, the men hate it because you can't get these parts just anywhere. You have to go looking around. Any good hardware carries this kind of stuff. Now, another example of O-rings is that when this stem cartridge is in the hole, that O-ring you see there keeps water from leaking out at the handle. So the top half of this faucet is always dry. No water gets past that O-ring until it gets old enough and the O-ring fails. So it's a nice little faucet. Pretty hard to work on your first time because it doesn't look like any other faucet. Just have to find the parts before you start. Sometimes get a little education so you don't go wrecking anything in this. Anyway, that's it for now. Good luck with your plumbing.